24. Black Hollywood icons who lost everything for white women. What if I told you that some of the biggest names in Black Hollywood men and women who had it all lost everything not on stage, not on the court, but in the arms of love that came at the highest price? Fame, fortune, and legacy crumbled in ways more shocking than any script. These are the untold stories of icons who sacrificed it all. Stay with us because what you're about to hear will leave you speechless. Before we dive in, hit that like button, subscribe, and join the Legends of Black Excellence community today. LeBron James. LeBron James is not only a basketball legend, he is also one of the biggest cultural icons of the 21st century. From Akron, Ohio, the young man who grew up in poverty has become an NBA champion, a self-made billionaire and the face of an entire generation. However, along with the halo of the aura, his personal life has always been the center of scrutiny, especially when it comes to his love life. LeBron met Savannah in high school, and the two have been together for more than 2 decades. They married in 2013 after a long journey together and built a family with 3 children. In the public eye, this is a rare, beautiful love story in the world of sports and entertainment. But in reality, even LeBron admits, no relationship is perfect. The pressures of fame, career, and countless temptations created cracks that were repeatedly amplified by the press. Rumors of infidelity arose, although without clear evidence. There were also whispers of his attraction to white women in the entertainment industry. Nevertheless, LeBron and Savannah chose to move forward together, proving that lasting love requires patience, forgiveness, and trust. What makes LeBron's story special is that he never lost everything like the anecdotes about other stars. On the contrary, he kept his family strong even when rumors surrounded him. Instead of letting his emotions ruin his career, he turned his family into a strong spiritual support to continue conquering new heights. However, no one knows what the future holds. The pressure of the spotlight, the scrutiny of the public, and personal differences can always be a trigger. What is certain is that LeBron James is still writing his story, and the world will continue to watch to see if he can maintain both glory on the court and happiness in love. Serena Williams. Serena Williams is remembered as the Queen of Tennis, a global symbol of strength, resilience, and unmatched dominance. Over 2 decades, she collected 23 Grand Slam titles, rewriting the history of the sport and inspiring millions worldwide. But beyond the trophies and roaring stadiums lies a more fragile story, one shaped by love, sacrifice, and the heavy toll of balancing personal life with greatness. Her romance with Alexis Ohanian, co-founder of Reddit, began like a modern fairy tale. They met in Rome in 2015, quickly became inseparable, and in 2017 celebrated a lavish wedding that captivated the world. With the birth of their daughter Olympia, the couple seemed to embody the perfect marriage of sports and tech. To the public eye, Serena had it all: the champion's crown, a devoted husband, and a beautiful family. Yet behind the glamorous facade, cracks began to form. After giving birth, Serena faced life-threatening complications. Multiple surgeries and ongoing health struggles drained her body and spirit. Alexis, though supportive, often could not fully grasp the weight of her battles. The difference in their worlds, one forged on grueling courts, the other in high-pressure boardrooms, created a distance neither could easily bridge. For Serena, the challenge was relentless. As she pushed to remain at the top of tennis, the emotional cost of her marriage grew heavier. Each loss on the court was no longer just about the game. Whispers began linking her fading dominance to the hidden strains of her private life. The once invincible competitor was suddenly human, caught between the demands of love, motherhood, and a career that asked for nothing less than perfection. Serena's vulnerability added a new dimension to her legacy. She has spoken openly about the loneliness of being misunderstood even while surrounded by support. Alexis continued to appear at tournaments and stand proudly by her side. But for Serena, the gap between emotional need and reality remained. For a woman who built her entire life on controlling her destiny, relying on another during her weakest moments often felt like another uphill battle. As she stepped back from full-time competition, her marriage still inspires debate. Unlike some stars who lost everything to scandal, Serena's story is different. She didn't fall to betrayal, but she did confront the cost of trying to hold two worlds together. Her triumphs proved she was the greatest on the court. Yet her struggles revealed the quiet sacrifices required when love and legacy collide. The tale of Serena Williams isn't simply about victories or defeats. It's about the unseen battles behind the spotlight, where even legends discover that strength has limits and that the heart can be both the greatest ally and the heaviest burden. Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods once stood as the ultimate symbol of perfection, a golf prodigy who became a global brand, racking up 15 major championships and inspiring an entire generation. By the mid-2000s, he was not just the face of golf, but one of the highest-earning athletes in history, pulling in hundreds of millions from Nike, Gatorade, and countless sponsors. His life career and marriage to Swedish model Elin Nordegren seemed flawless, until scandal shattered it all. In 2009, the carefully built image of Tiger Woods collapsed overnight. It began with a late-night car accident near his Florida home, followed by shocking revelations of multiple affairs with white women. What started as whispers quickly exploded into one of the biggest celebrity scandals of the decade. Tiger wasn't just facing private shame, he was humiliated on a global stage. Sponsors fled. Gatorade, AT&T, and Accenture all severed ties, costing him an estimated $22 million in a single year. His once spotless reputation was gone, replaced by tabloid headlines and endless late-night jokes. His marriage dissolved in 2010, with Elin reportedly receiving a $100 million divorce settlement. The fall was brutal, from invincible legend to a cautionary tale of excess and temptation. How much of a person's legacy should be defined by their mistakes in love rather than their greatness in their craft? Tiger did fight back. He returned to competition, endured injuries, and in 2019 won the Masters in one of the most emotional comebacks in sports history. Yet the shadow of his scandal never fully lifted. His personal pain became a permanent part of his story. For many, Tiger Woods remains the man who lost everything: family, fortune, and image, for fleeting affairs that cost him the crown he once wore so effortlessly. Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson is larger than life, a Hollywood megastar, a wrestling legend, a man who turned charisma and muscle into a billion-dollar brand. He's known for blockbuster hits, relentless work ethic, and being one of the most likable figures in entertainment. But even The Rock, a man who seems unstoppable, has faced struggles that shake the image of perfection, particularly in his personal life. After his divorce from his first wife, Danny Garcia Dwayne found love with Lauren Hashian, a singer and songwriter. Their romance blossomed in 2007, and after more than a decade together, they married in 2019. To outsiders, they appeared unbreakable, a power couple with two daughters balancing Hollywood glitz with family warmth. Yet the reality behind the curtain was far less perfect. As Dwayne's career skyrocketed, his schedule grew overwhelming: films, businesses, gym culture, wrestling appearances. Lauren reportedly struggled with feeling overlooked, caught in the shadow of his larger-than-life persona. Subtle criticisms, growing distance, and emotional exhaustion created tension. By 2021, Dwayne himself admitted to bouts of burnout, both physically and mentally. The man who conquered the box office and inspired millions felt trapped by the weight of being everything to everyone except himself. For Dwayne, the price was steep. Though still married, the strain left scars. His story is not one of tabloid betrayal, but of how relentless ambition can quietly suffocate even the strongest love. Fame gave him everything, yet it also tested his family in ways money and muscles could never fix. Dwayne Johnson's journey reminds us that even giants stumble. His pain may not have been splashed across scandal sheets like Tiger Woods, but the lesson is the same. Even the strongest men can lose their balance when love and legacy collide. Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. was once Hollywood's golden boy, son of an artist, a natural talent who seemed born for the screen. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, he had become one of the most respected actors of his generation. His marriage to actress and singer Deborah Falconer in 1992 looked like the perfect union. Together, they welcomed a son, Indio, and for a time it seemed Robert had stability. But beneath the polished red carpet smiles, a storm was brewing. Robert was battling a crippling addiction that consumed his life. The marriage that began with love and partnership became entangled in drugs arrests and the suffocating grip of Hollywood fame. Deborah stood by him at first, but as his struggles escalated, including multiple arrests for cocaine and heroin possession and stints in rehab, the weight grew unbearable. By 2001, Deborah left with their son filing for divorce after nearly a decade of chaos. Robert spiraled further. He lost his family, his reputation, and nearly his career. In 1999, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison for repeated parole violations. Roles dried up, studios stopped calling, and Robert was labeled uninsurable. Deborah Falconer became a symbol of both his downfall and his struggle to climb back. While their relationship didn't cause his addiction, the collapse of their marriage marked the lowest point of his personal life. Robert described the aftermath as living in despair, watching everything slip away. His eventual redemption came years later with the help of producer Susan Levin, who became his second wife, but the scars of his first marriage remain. For a time, Robert Downey Jr. embodied the tragedy of a man who lost everything: family, career, dignity, while trapped in a love story that couldn't survive the darkness of addiction. Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy defined comedy in the 1980s and 1990s. His energy, charisma, and talent carried him from Saturday Night Live to box office domination with hits like Beverly Hills Cop and Coming to America. He was unstoppable, one of the most bankable stars Hollywood had ever seen. But even legends have private battles, and Eddie's story reveals how love and career can clash in painful ways. In the early 2010s, Eddie began a relationship with Australian model Paige Butcher. Their romance looked like a dream, beauty and genius coming together. After years of companionship, the two became engaged in 2018 and eventually married in 2024. Along the way, they welcomed 2 children, blending Eddie's large family with Paige's quiet presence. But the sacrifices Eddie made for love were real. Insiders often pointed out that during this period, Eddie turned down lucrative film projects, choosing instead to spend time with Paige and focus on family life. The result: a career slowdown for a man who once commanded $20 million per film. While his peers reinvented themselves, Eddie's screen presence dimmed. His reign as Hollywood's comedy king seemed to fade not from lack of talent, but from the compromises he made at home. Their relationship wasn't marked by scandal, but by quiet friction. Lifestyle demands different priorities, and the constant tug between fame and family created tension. While Paige wanted more time together, Eddie's creative fire longed for the spotlight he once ruled. The conflict left Eddie in a strange limbo, a superstar whose choices for love slowed his dominance. Eddie Murphy remains a legend, but his story carries the weight of sacrifice. He didn't lose everything in the tabloids, but he did lose the unstoppable momentum that once made him Hollywood's brightest flame. And sometimes that quiet loss, fame fading into silence, cuts even deeper. Chris Rock. Chris Rock is one of comedy's sharpest voices, a man who built his legacy by making audiences roar with laughter while exposing raw truths about race, politics, and relationships. Offstage, though, his own love story turned into one of his greatest personal failures. In 1996, Chris married Malak Compton, a philanthropist and founder of a non-profit organization. They seemed like the perfect couple: 2 beautiful daughters, a sprawling home, and Chris riding high as one of the most successful comedians of his era. For nearly 2 decades, their life appeared unshakable, but the cracks were there, hidden behind the curtain of fame. Chris later admitted to cheating on Malak with multiple women, including white women. He also confessed to an addiction to pornography, describing it as a destructive force that distorted his ability to connect emotionally with his wife. For years, he lived a double life, adored on stage for his honesty, but privately carrying the weight of secrets and betrayal. When the truth finally surfaced, Malak filed for divorce in 2014, finalized in 2016. The breakup cost him millions and even more painfully fractured his family. Chris himself admitted in interviews that he brought this on and that his ego and choices destroyed his marriage. Since the divorce, Chris has tried to rebuild. His stand-up specials have become more personal, reflecting the pain of losing his marriage. Yet the scars remain. He lost not only a wife, but the sense of stability that grounded him during his peak years. For a man who made the world laugh, the cruel irony is that laughter couldn't save his own home. Dave Chappelle. Few names in comedy carry the same weight as Dave Chappelle. By the early 2000s, he wasn't just a comedian, he was a cultural force. Chappelle's show became a phenomenon, his sharp satire redefining television. Then, at the very height of his career, Dave did the unthinkable. He walked away from a $50 million contract and vanished. His marriage to Elaine Mendoza, a Filipina, was part of his private sanctuary. Together, they raised 3 children away from Hollywood's chaos, choosing to live on a farm in Ohio. At first glance, it seemed like a fairy tale, the world's most famous comedian choosing family and simplicity over money and fame. But the reality was more complicated. Behind closed doors, Dave battled immense stress. The pressures of fame, constant scrutiny, and the weight of being a cultural spokesperson wore him down. Elaine, though supportive, struggled to understand the depth of his inner turmoil. Their relationship carried genuine love, but also a widening emotional gap. When Dave abandoned his show in 2005, rumors swirled. Was it drugs? Was it a breakdown? Was it family tension? He later explained it as an act of survival, a way to preserve himself and perhaps to protect his marriage from further collapse. But the silence left his family shaken, and Elaine was left to navigate confusion as the world speculated about her husband. Dave eventually returned stronger than ever, winning Grammys and Emmys. Yet the cost of his decision lingers. His marriage endured, but not without scars. His story is one of genius and sacrifice, a reminder that even when you have it all, the search for balance between love, sanity, and success can demand a price few are willing to pay. Idris Elba. Idris Elba is the very definition of charisma. The magnetic star of Luther, the imposing presence in Thor, and a man often named among the world's sexiest. His rise to Hollywood superstardom seemed unstoppable. But away from the cameras, Idris wrestled with battles of the heart, and one relationship in particular became a breaking point. In 2013, Idris entered a relationship with Nyana Garth, a makeup artist of Polish heritage. They welcomed a son together in 2014, and for a time, Idris appeared grounded. But the truth beneath the surface told a different story. Nyana reportedly resented the demands of Idris's career, criticizing his long absences and the sacrifices he made for Hollywood. Their love, once a comfort, turned into a battlefield of arguments, resentment, and growing distance. For Idris, who prided himself on resilience, the emotional toll was devastating. Colleagues noticed a shift in his energy. His passion dimmed, and even his commanding on-screen presence seemed haunted by the weight he carried at home. By 2016, the relationship quietly ended, leaving Idris heartbroken. He admitted in interviews that his personal struggles nearly broke him, describing himself as fragile during that period. Can even the strongest man survive when the person he loves most turns into the source of his greatest pain? The breakup left lasting scars. Idris threw himself into work, but the cracks showed. It took years for him to find stability again, eventually remarrying in 2019. Still, the collapse of his relationship with Nyana was a reminder that even the most powerful stars are vulnerable when love becomes toxic. For a man admired as invincible, Idris Elba's heartbreak revealed just how human he truly is. Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier was more than an actor. He was a pioneer. The first black man to win the Academy Award for Best Actor in 1964, he shattered barriers and became a symbol of dignity and excellence in Hollywood. Yet even legends carry private wounds, and for Sidney, some of his deepest pain came not from the industry, but from love. In 1976, Sidney married Joanna Šimkus, a Canadian actress with Lithuanian roots. Their union appeared idyllic. he a trailblazing icon and she an elegant partner. They had 2 daughters together and projected the image of grace and stability. But behind the closed doors of their home, cracks slowly formed. Sidney's relentless dedication to his craft left Joanna feeling isolated. Cultural differences and unmet emotional needs deepened the divide. Loneliness pushed her toward indiscretions, and when Sidney discovered her infidelity, the betrayal cut deep. For a man who had spent his life breaking boundaries and holding himself to the highest standards, the collapse of trust within his own home was a blow almost too heavy to bear. The pain seeped into his spirit. Though he continued to act and direct those who knew him, said his warmth carried an undercurrent of sadness. The betrayal didn't just hurt his marriage, it scarred his sense of stability, leaving him questioning the very foundation of love. Though Sidney and Joanna remained together until his passing in 2022, the truth is, their marriage endured only through compromise and scars. His story is a reminder that even the most respected gentleman, a man who represented hope for millions, could not escape the hidden tragedies of the heart. Donald Glover. Donald Glover is a rare force in entertainment: actor, comedian, musician, director, writer. The kind of multifaceted genius Hollywood only sees once in a generation. Under his stage name, Childish Gambino, he won Grammys with This Is America. On screen, he's helmed Atlanta, one of the most groundbreaking series of the past decade. But as his star rose, so too did criticism of his personal life. Donald has been in a long-term relationship with Michelle White, a white woman with whom he shares 3 children. To many, love is love. But for Donald, the choice came with intense backlash. Some fans accused him of turning his back on black women, while others questioned whether his art about race and black culture lost credibility because of who he chose to love. Behind closed doors, that cultural scrutiny weighed on him heavily. Donald himself admitted that Michelle struggled to fully understand the unique pressures he faced as a black man in Hollywood. She could not always relate to the exhaustion of battling stereotypes or the pain of seeing his work dissected through a racial lens. Their relationship, though rooted in affection, was marked by unspoken distance. As he juggled the demands of his career and fatherhood, Donald began showing signs of burnout. Friends noted how he seemed drained, as if the constant balancing act between family community expectations and artistic ambition was hollowing him out. For Donald Glover, the answer remains complex. He continues to thrive professionally, but his story is a reminder that fame cannot shield you from the weight of judgment, especially when it comes to love. His tale is not about losing everything in scandal, but about losing peace of mind under the pressure of expectations that few could endure. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart built his empire on laughter. From sold-out comedy tours to blockbuster films, he transformed himself from a struggling comic into one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. But at the height of his success, a personal scandal nearly destroyed everything. Kevin married his first wife, Torrei Hart, in 2003. They had 2 children and appeared to be building a family alongside his budding career. But as Kevin's fame skyrocketed, so did temptation. By 2011, rumors of his infidelity with a white model surfaced, tearing apart the marriage. Torrei stood by him through his early struggles, only to see their union unravel in the spotlight. Their divorce in 2011 was bitter, filled with accusations of betrayal and emotional pain. The fallout didn't stop there. Kevin faced a public backlash when details of his affairs became tabloid fodder. For a man whose brand was built on being the relatable, family-friendly comedian, the image shattered. His comedy tours slowed, endorsement deals wavered, and Kevin himself admitted that the scandal cost him dearly. Kevin tried to rebuild. He leaned into vulnerability on stage, using comedy as therapy, confessing his flaws openly to fans. He remarried in 2016, determined to start fresh. But the scars of his first marriage, the betrayal, the shame, the public fallout still follow him. For all his success, Kevin Hart's story proves that fame cannot protect you from the consequences of personal choices. In the end, he didn't just lose his wife, he lost the illusion of being untouchable. His laughter could fill arenas, but it couldn't drown out the pain of the home he once had and the trust he will never fully regain. Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele has been hailed as one of Hollywood's most brilliant minds. From his comedy roots on Key and Peele to redefining modern horror with Get Out and Us. Jordan went from sketch comedian to Oscar-winning director almost overnight. His success seemed unstoppable, and so did his personal life when he married fellow comedian Chelsea Peretti in 2016. Together, they welcomed a son in 2017, becoming one of Hollywood's quirkiest yet most admired couples. But success carries shadows. As Jordan's career exploded, demands on his time grew unbearable. Film after film studio deals, red carpet appearances, his world became a whirlwind. Chelsea, once his creative partner and muse, reportedly felt sidelined. Their love, while genuine, began to feel like second place to Jordan's skyrocketing ambition. For Jordan, the irony was cruel. He had built a career exposing the horrors of race power and control in society, yet his personal life was unraveling in ways he could not script away. The man who gave audiences nightmares was quietly living one of his own, a slow erosion of intimacy under the relentless glare of success. Jordan's struggles were less about betrayal and more about neglect, a failure to balance genius with gentleness, ambition with attention. While they remain married, the emotional distance has left its mark. For a man celebrated as a visionary, his story is a haunting reminder that sometimes the greatest horror is not on screen, but at home. Seal. Seal's voice is one of the most distinctive in music, raw, powerful, and unforgettable. With hits like Kiss from a Rose, he became a global superstar. In 2005, he married supermodel Heidi Klum, and for nearly a decade, they embodied the image of a perfect Hollywood power couple. Seal even adopted Heidi's daughter from a previous relationship, and together they raised 4 children. To the public, theirs was a fairy tale. But behind closed doors, the story grew darker. Heidi's modeling empire and relentless schedule left Seal feeling increasingly isolated. He wanted presence and intimacy. She was swept away by fame, photo shoots, and international commitments. The distance widened until the marriage collapsed in 2012, finalized in 2014. For Seal, it was not just the end of a marriage, but the unraveling of his emotional anchor. Seal later admitted that he struggled with feelings of abandonment, left questioning whether fame had stolen the love he once believed would last forever. The man who poured his heart into music was suddenly alone, the songs of passion and devotion now echoing with grief. Even after the divorce, Seal continued to perform, but those closest to him said the heartbreak lingered. The image of the strong, soulful singer masked the vulnerability of a man who had lost the one relationship he believed was unshakable. For Seal, love became the one thing his voice could not hold on to. Ice-T. Ice-T is more than a rapper. He's a pioneer. A man who turned gritty West Coast stories into anthems, and later reinvented himself as a television icon on Law & Order SVU. For decades, he balanced the swagger of a hip-hop legend with the discipline of a Hollywood actor. But even for a man as tough as Ice-T, love would test his strength in ways bullets and battles never could. In 2002, Ice-T married model Nicole Coco Austin. Their marriage fascinated the tabloids, the age gap, the lavish displays of affection, the unapologetic chemistry. When they welcomed their daughter Chanel in 2015, they seemed untouchable proof that their love could outlast gossip. But in 2013, a storm hit. Photos of Coco with another rapper surfaced, sparking rumors of infidelity. Headlines screamed betrayal, fans speculated endlessly, and Ice-T was thrust into the one battlefield he could not control, the court of public opinion. For a man who built his image on loyalty and family, the humiliation was crushing. Each public appearance became a trial, every question a reminder of wounds not yet healed. Coco issued a public apology insisting their bond could withstand the scandal. And in a rare act of forgiveness, Ice-T chose reconciliation. To the outside world, it looked like love won. But those close to him knew the truth. The pain lingered. Forgiveness may have kept the marriage intact, but the innocence was gone. Ice-T carried on smiling for cameras, raising his daughter and returning to the stage. Yet beneath the cool exterior was a man grappling with the deepest cut of all betrayal from the person he trusted most. His life, defined by survival and grit, revealed that even the toughest icons can be undone not by enemies, but by love. Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor remains one of comedy's greatest legends. His raw, fearless performances redefined stand-up, opening doors for generations of comedians who followed. On stage, he was untouchable. Offstage, his life was chaos, a whirlwind of marriages, affairs, drugs, and heartbreak. And at the center of it all was his volatile relationship with white actress Jennifer Lee. Pryor married Lee in 1981 at the height of his career. At first, she tried to be his anchor as he battled cocaine addiction and mood swings. But Richard's demons were relentless. In 1980, during a drug-fueled binge, he set himself on fire, suffering severe burns that nearly killed him. Jennifer stayed, but love could not rescue him from the abyss. Their marriage dissolved in 1982, leaving both scarred. Years later, they reconciled and remarried in 2001. By then, Pryor was a shell of the man he once was, ravaged by multiple sclerosis and decades of self-destruction. Jennifer cared for him until his death in 2005, but the relationship remained defined by pain, not peace. For Richard, love was both salvation and destruction. Jennifer wasn't the cause of his collapse, but she bore witness to the darkest chapters of his life, chapters that forever linked her to his legacy. Richard Pryor's life is remembered for genius on stage, but in private he lost nearly everything: health, dignity, stability, and a cycle of passion and pain that no amount of laughter could heal. His story is a warning that brilliance and self-destruction often walk hand in hand, and that love, even when it stays, cannot always save. Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley is remembered as one of the most dominant forwards in NBA history, a league MVP, 11-time All-Star, and later one of the sharpest voices on television. But outside of basketball, Barkley's life has long been scrutinized, not for his game, but for his marriage. In 1989, Charles married Maureen Blumhardt, a white woman he had fallen deeply in love with. To them, it was simple: two people who cared for each other, raising a daughter together. To the world, it became controversy. At a time when interracial marriages still sparked heated debates, especially for a black man in the spotlight, Barkley became the target of whispers, headlines, and accusations of betrayal. For years, critics suggested his choice of partner meant he was disconnected from the black community. Others unfairly claimed he owed his success to assimilation rather than authenticity. The constant commentary created a silent burden in their home. Charles himself admitted to feeling isolated, accepted neither fully by the white mainstream nor by portions of the black fan base who viewed his marriage as a rejection. That loneliness left scars. Even as he thrived professionally, making millions on the court and becoming a fixture on TV, he carried the weight of being judged not for his game, but for his love. Barkley confessed in interviews that the lack of shared understanding sometimes created a rift between him and Maureen. The love was there, but so was the constant reminder of division. Though their marriage has endured for decades, Barkley's story is a reminder that love can cost more than money or fame. Sometimes the price is peace of mind, and for Charles Barkley, the applause of millions could never drown out the silence of feeling alone. Wesley Snipes. In the 1990s, Wesley Snipes was untouchable. With films like Blade, White Men Can't Jump, and New Jack City, he was one of the most bankable black actors in Hollywood. Strong, charismatic, and versatile Snipes had the world at his feet. But when it came to love, his choices would become part of the story of his fall. Wesley's romance with Jennifer Lopez in the early 1990s was a tabloid sensation. At the time, J-Lo's star was on the rise, and together they were one of Hollywood's most glamorous couples. But beneath the glitz, the relationship was troubled. Wesley, already established, found himself overshadowed by Jennifer's skyrocketing fame. At public events, the cameras focused on her, and insiders say it made him feel sidelined, as if he were no longer the star of his own story. The strain grew unbearable. Their conflicts over ambition priorities and the spotlight spilled into the open. Jennifer's refusal to play a supporting role in his life became a turning point. When the relationship ended, Wesley's personal life collapsed just as his professional life began to falter. Soon after, he faced legal troubles, most famously a conviction for tax evasion that led to a 3-year prison sentence. While those issues were not caused by the relationship, many close to him pointed out that the heartbreak, the feeling of being left behind, accelerated his downward spiral. Wesley Snipes eventually made a modest return to acting, even appearing again in Coming to America. But the fire of his 1990s dominance never fully returned. For a man once hailed as Hollywood's next great action hero, his relationship with Jennifer Lopez remains part of the painful chapter where personal heartbreak and professional decline collided. Taye Diggs. Taye Diggs rose to fame as one of Hollywood's most versatile actors, celebrated for films like How Stella Got Her Groove Back and the Broadway hit Rent. Charismatic, handsome, and talented Taye seemed to have it all, including a love story that looked like it was pulled straight from a fairy tale. In 2003, Taye married Idina Menzel, the powerhouse Broadway singer whose voice would later define Frozen. Together, they became a star couple, glamorous red carpet appearances, a shared love of the arts, and in 2009, the birth of their son Walker. To outsiders, their marriage symbolized stability and creative synergy. But fame is rarely kind. As Idina's career soared with projects like Wicked and later Disney, Taye often found himself in the shadows. Her demanding Broadway and touring schedule left him feeling increasingly alone. While she performed to sold-out crowds, he endured empty evenings at home, the vibrant romance turning into silence. The distance grew unbearable. In 2013, the couple announced their separation, finalizing their divorce the following year. For Taye, the loss was more than just a broken marriage. It was the collapse of a partnership he believed would last forever. He admitted in interviews that he struggled deeply with feelings of inadequacy, questioning whether success and love could ever coexist. After the divorce, Taye's career momentum slowed, and his once boundless energy seemed muted. Though he later found new relationships, the heartbreak of losing Idina, a woman he once described as his greatest love, remained a wound not easily healed. His story is a stark reminder that even when love begins as a duet, fame can turn it into a solo no one wanted. Ben Harper. Ben Harper has always been a musician of soul and substance. With his haunting voice and deeply personal lyrics, he carved out a legacy as one of America's most introspective singer-songwriters. But his personal life revealed a different story, one where love and marriage left scars he carried for years. In 2005, Ben married actress Laura Dern, already a Hollywood star in her own right. The union seemed perfect, a sensitive, poetic musician and a talented actress blending art and passion into a shared life. They welcomed 2 children, and for a time, fans believed theirs was a romance that bridged music and film with grace. But beneath the surface, cracks formed. Laura's booming career meant constant demands, film sets, premieres, and media attention, while Ben remained deeply committed to his music. He longed for understanding of the creative solitude he needed. But Laura, ambitious and independent, often grew frustrated. Their differences widened until their home became a place of tension rather than peace. By 2010, Ben filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Though they briefly reconciled, the effort failed, and in 2013, the divorce was finalized. The heartbreak drained him. Friends noted that his music during those years carried an even deeper sadness, the lyrics echoing with pain that mirrored his private life. For Ben Harper, the split with Laura Dern was more than a failed marriage. It was a loss of balance, a reminder that even the most poetic souls can stumble when love demands more than they can give. His story reveals that sometimes the hardest notes to sing are not on stage, but in the silence left after love fades. Terry Crews. Terry Crews has always been seen as unshakable, a former NFL player. turned Hollywood star beloved for his comedic roles, his muscular frame, and his family man image. On the outside, Terry embodied strength, but even the strongest men can be undone by battles no one else sees. In 1990, Terry married Rebecca King, a gifted singer and actress. Together they built what appeared to be the perfect life, raising 5 children and radiating joy on red carpets. For years, fans looked at them as the model couple, proof that love and family could thrive under the glare of Hollywood lights. But beneath the polished exterior, Terry was hiding a devastating secret, a years-long addiction to pornography. What began as a private struggle soon spiraled into an obsession that created distance in his marriage. Rebecca noticed him drifting away, emotionally absent, his warmth replaced by guilt and secrecy. When the truth finally surfaced, the betrayal cut deep. Rebecca was heartbroken, questioning the foundation of their love. Terry, racked with shame, admitted to feeling powerless against the addiction. Therapy, difficult conversations, and public acknowledgement followed, but the scars were real. At one point, Rebecca left with their children, forcing Terry to face an empty home and the possibility of losing everything. His career continued, but the man who seemed indestructible was left broken by the one battle he could not flex his way through. Is love strong enough to survive when trust has been shattered, or does betrayal leave wounds too deep to ever heal? Though the couple eventually reconciled, Terry's story remains a cautionary tale. Fame, money, and strength couldn't protect him from his own demons, and for a time he nearly lost the one thing he valued most: his family. Omari Hardwick. Omari Hardwick became a household name through his powerful role as James Ghost St. Patrick in Power. Charismatic, intense, and fiercely talented, he was celebrated as a rising star in Black Hollywood. But while his career soared, his love life made him the target of criticism and isolation. Omari married Jennifer Fauch, a publicist of German descent. They built a family together, welcoming 2 children. To them, it was love. To the outside world, it became controversy. Many fans, particularly within the Black community, criticized his choice, accusing him of turning his back on his heritage. The backlash was relentless. Omari himself admitted to feeling torn, caught between defending the woman he loved and enduring the constant judgment of those who questioned his loyalty. Jennifer, though supportive, could not fully grasp the depth of his pain. The hostility from the public made their home life heavier, turning what should have been a safe haven into another arena of conflict. As the criticism mounted, Omari withdrew, his once vibrant energy dimming under the strain. Every argument, every misunderstanding seemed magnified by the cultural divide pressing down on their marriage. What started as minor disagreements escalated, leaving both feeling unheard and misunderstood. Eventually, Omari realized that no matter how strong their bond, the constant strain of outside judgment had changed them. The relationship faltered, leaving him heartbroken and questioning whether love alone could overcome the barriers of race culture and relentless public opinion. For Omari Hardwick, the cost of loving across those boundaries wasn't just criticism, it was the slow unraveling of a relationship that once felt unbreakable. His story stands as a painful reminder that sometimes the loudest battles are not fought in Hollywood, but in the silence of a divided home. Hank Baskett. Hank Baskett had everything an athlete could dream of: talent, fame, and a career as a wide receiver in the NFL. Known for his discipline and dedication, he earned respect on the field. But his story would be remembered less for touchdowns and more for a scandal that consumed his life and love. In 2009, Hank married Kendra Wilkinson, a white model and reality TV star best known from The Girls Next Door. Their wedding was broadcast on national television, cementing their status as a celebrity couple. For years, they projected the image of a modern fairy tale, the athlete and the model raising 2 beautiful children under the glow of fame. But in 2014, that image imploded. Allegations surfaced that Hank had been involved with a transgender model while Kendra was 8 months pregnant. The story spread like wildfire, dominating tabloids and social media. Overnight, Hank went from NFL star to scandal headline. The betrayal left Kendra shattered. Their marriage became reality TV fodder with explosive arguments and tearful confrontations playing out for millions to see. Hank, once known for quiet discipline, appeared broken, apologetic, and overwhelmed. The man who built his life on strength was suddenly defined by weakness. The fallout was brutal. Hank's football career, already slowing, came to a screeching halt. Endorsements dried up. His reputation never recovered. By 2018, Kendra filed for divorce, ending nearly a decade of marriage. Hank was left with little more than regret and the haunting knowledge that one scandal had erased years of hard work. His story became a reminder that fame magnifies flaws and that one misstep off the field can undo a lifetime of victories on it. Derek Luke. Derek Luke entered Hollywood with promise. His breakout role in Antwone Fisher, directed by Denzel Washington, earned him critical acclaim and positioned him as one of the most exciting young black actors of his generation. Audiences admired his talent and humility, expecting him to climb to the heights of stardom. But behind his calm exterior, Derek's personal life became a hidden tragedy. In 1998, he married Sofia Adela Hernandez, a Spanish-American actress and singer. At first, their love looked strong, two artists supporting each other in a tough industry. But as Derek's career began to rise, Sofia's ambitions created friction. She pushed her own goals aggressively, often at the expense of Derek's opportunities. He turned down roles, sacrificed projects, and made compromises to support her path. The imbalance grew toxic. Sofia reportedly dismissed Derek's career as less significant, a cutting remark that left him shattered. Years of sacrifice piled up into resentment, draining his passion for acting. What had once been a marriage of support turned into a cycle of criticism and emotional neglect. By the time the cracks became impossible to hide, Derek was already a different man, weary, disillusioned, and struggling to find joy in the craft that once defined him. Hollywood's spotlight dimmed, and Derek seemed to fade with it, his career stalling just as it should have been, reaching new peaks. For Derek Luke, the tragedy was not scandal splashed across tabloids, but the slow erosion of spirit. His story is quieter than many others, but no less devastating. In choosing love, he gave up the momentum of his career, and in the end he was left with neither the marriage nor the fire that once burned inside him. In the end, these stories remind us that love can elevate or destroy, that even the most powerful icons can lose everything when personal choices clash with public pressure. Were these relationships acts of true devotion or reckless decisions that cost careers, families, and legacies? The answers aren't simple, and that's what makes them unforgettable. Do you think love should excuse the mistakes of legends, or should their downfalls define them forever? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence for more untold truths.